Hello, it's your friendly neighborhood host, JT Wheatley, back for another episode of the History of Comics podcast, this time with the life and humorous art of John Severin. Another term for comic books and comic strips is funny books and funny pages. Originally, comic strips were humorous cartoons, which continue to this day, while the original comic books were just a collection of these strips before both mediums morphed into multiple genres, from action to westerns and, of course, superheroes. However, comic books have never forgotten their humorous roots, with notable magazines like Mad and Crack carrying on the tradition, delivering the laughs. Of those artists who contributed to it, one of the finest was John Severin, who more or less made Crack magazine, it is remembered as day, along with being an extinguished career as one of the best and most professional artists in comic books. John Severin was born on December 26th, though he would claim to be born on the 25th Christmas Day sometimes, of 1921 in Jersey City, New Jersey, and later growing up in New York City. Severin drew almost from birth, with his first comic appearing in the Hobo News, an early 20th century paper aimed at homeless migrant workers, when he was 17 and still in high school at $1 per page. Severin stated that he sometimes averaged 19 to 20 cartoons a week, setting a famous pace that would continue throughout his career during this period, which was helpful that he didn't have a steady job during high school. He went on to St. John's Prep and later the New York School of Music and Arts, where other future artists like Al Jaffe, Harvey Kurtzman, Will Elder, and Al Feldstein also attended. After graduating from school in 1940, John Severin apprenticed as a machinist, but when World War II broke out, he enlisted in the Army, where he served as a machine gunner in the Central Pacific Theater. After the war, John Severin decided to put some of his paintings at the New York's Music and Art exhibit for the alumni, which caught the eye of Charles Stern, who at the time was sharing a studio with Will Elder and Harvey Kurtzman, the Charles of the Charles William Harvey Studio, and he offered them a space to rent there. At the studio, Severin observed how much money Kurtzman was making selling his Hey Look gags for Stan Lee at Timely Comics, and decided to work up some comic samples with Will Elder inking. This got him his first job at Joe Simon and Jack Kirby's studio, Crestword Publications. While creators weren't credited on stories, a standard practice at the time, many believe John Severin's and Will Elder's first work at the company was The Clue of the Horoscope in Headline Comics number 32 on November of 1948, followed by work in Boy Commandos number 30 and Prize Comics Western number 7. Severin worked at Crestwood through 1955, where he created American Eagle with an unknown writer about a Native American hero in Prize Comics Western number 6 in January of 1951. During this time, John Severin provided work to other studios such as Timely, The Future Marvel, and EC Comics, with one of his first for Timely being My Heart Had No Faith in Actual Romance number 1 in October of 1949. For EC Comics, Severin produced War Story in Two-Fisted Tales number 19 on February 1951, where he would continue to work with his friend and frequent inker Will Elder, doing several science fiction and war stories for EC Comics. After Harvey Kurtzman left Two-Fisted Tales to focus on the new Mad comic, Severin became the comic's sole artist for 4 issues, working with writer Cole Dawkins on some stories, along with writing a few himself. And both were the uncredited editors for issues number 36 to 39. However, Severin will be lured to EC's new Mad comic, being one of the original 5 artists who helped launch the classic series in August of 1952, along with Harvey Kurtzman, Will Elder, Wally Wood, and Jack Davis. In the landmark satirical comic, Severin appeared in the first 10 issues until he had a falling out with Kurtzman, who was notorious taskmaster and insisted that Severin ink with pen over brush ink. While Severin would later take that advice, he bristled at Kurtzman insisting on it, thus leaving Mad to focus on Two-Fisted Tales. However, his experience at Mad and his humorous stories would factor into his career later. After EC Comics went out of business due to the invention of the Comics Code Authority, Severin went to work at Atlas, another name for the future Marvel went under, doing Sergeant Barney Barker, their version of the comedy series Sergeant Bilko. As the company transitioned to Marvel Comics in the Silver Age, Severin did extensive work as penciler and inking on such books as Conan the Barbarian, Captain Savage and his Leatherneck Raiders, and The Incredible Hulk, which greatly pleased regular Hulk penciler Herb Trimpe, who admired his work from EC Comics. He also worked as inker on Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos with writer Gary Friedrich and penciler Dick Ayers, beginning an acclaimed run with issue number 44 on January of 1967 that earned the book the Alley Award for Best War Title in 1967 and 68. Severin would even work with his sister Marie Severin on King Cole series in the 1970s. It was during this time that Severin's past at Mad benefited him when he began the work on Cracked, which began in March of 1958. While noted for being a ripoff of Mad magazine, it successfully ran to February of 2007, with John Severin working on it for nearly 40 years, providing many of its features and virtually all of its covers. One example of extensive work was the issue number 26 of September of 1962, where Severin drew 50 of the 52 pages. His work on Cracked remains a standout, displaying both his humor and attention to detail, and in 2012, Fantagraphics co-publisher Kim Thompson stated that Cracked magazine was, well, mostly crap, and John Severin. During the 1950s and 60s, John Severin was noted for his speed, able to do 100 pages a month. Seriously, that's really good. Severin's art was noted also for his accurate details in all genres, to a point that Jack Kirby would use his art to research how a historical weapon or vehicle should look, since Severin's art was just as good as a photograph, according to Kirby. This was in spite of Severin being colorblind, thus many of his flames depicted in his illustrations would appear green. His sister Marie would help with the coloring and also worked on Cracked, while having a brilliant career in her own right. She has been previously the focus of Women in Comics episodes, and will get her own episode in the future. Trust me. John Severin also did work for DC, Warren, and Charlton, and so forth, working on such books as Billy the Kid, Blazing Combat, and Creepy. During the late 1970s, he worked on Joe Kubert's self-published Sojourn book, while in the 1980s provided art for Marvel's Denom, What If, and Semper Fi. However, Severin was soon doing just Crack full-time up until the late 1990s. Whilst John Severin was consistently working, he started to receive accolades for his already extensive career. Of note, his artwork was put on exhibit 3 times during the 1990s at the Words and Pictures Museum in Northampton, Massachusetts, which was established in 1992 by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles co-creator Kevin Eastman. First as part of a grand opening on October 9, 1992 to January 5, 1993, then later with the War No More exhibit from May 18th to August 8th of 1993, and finally a group show on the Classic Comics, a selection of stories from EC Comics from December 7, 1995 to February 11th, 1996. Sadly, the museum was dissolved in 1999. In 2000, John Severin started Biographics, doing celebrity likenesses for newspapers despite publishing deadlines. His ability to draw 100 pages a month still paid off years later. It was also during this time that Severin decided to branch out further, as he called up Scott Dunbar, then the group editor of DC Wildstorm, saying he was looking to do comics work again. Dunbar was awestruck after the call ended and immediately approached writer Jeff Marriott, who suggested Severin be a great penciler on Desperados, their Weird West-style book. Fearing someone would snatch him up first, Dunbar and Marriott worked up a treatment which they sent to Severin along with copies of the first Desperado miniseries the next day. Severin liked what he saw, which led him to doing Desperados, Quiet to the Grave in 2002 and 2003. With his return to comics, John Severin next worked on the 2003 Marvel Limited series Rawhide Kid, which reimagined the popular gunslinger as a gay man. It was done under their Max imprint, which allowed for the mature content. Severin continued to provide art for numerous other books despite his advanced years, such as The Punisher, DC's Suicide Squad, American Century, Batlash, which he did in 2010 at the age of 88, Dark Horse's BPRD, Conan, and Witchfinder. John Severin continued to accrue accolades as well for his brilliant career, winning the Inkpot Award in 1998 and the Cartoon Art Museum's Sparky Award in 2001. In 2003, John Severin was inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame. However, he continued to keep working up to which he was the only thing that could stop John Severin was his own death. Sadly, that was on February 12th of 2012 at the age of 90, survived by his wife of 60 years, Marcelina, and their 6 children. In addition, he was also left behind a brilliant legacy of work that spawned all genres, from Western to war and, of course, humor. Severin was easily the best thing about Crack magazine, along with setting a standard for work effort and detail that is rarely rivaled. Severin was the perfect mix of talent and work ethic, and comics have seen few of his kind since then. I would like to thank the chief source for this episode, The Comedy of John Severin, which is mostly a collection of his classic work on Crack magazine, though it does provide some biographical details and tidbits. A must-read for any John Severin fan. And now it is October 29th, 2020, time for the favorite comic of the week. Batman, Three Jokers, number 3 by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabuk, which concludes this 3-part story that finds Batman, the Red Hood, and Batgirl finally taking down the 3 Jokers and delving into some of the mystery behind them, though it leaves a few interesting threads along the way. Jeff Johns does a great job really studying both the characters of the Jokers and the 3 heroes, especially when Batman finally confronts Red Hood over killing one of the Jokers and reveals why, frankly, he can't bring him to justice because all the ramifications will come afterwards. It also deals with the relationship as well, including especially with the thrill about Batman having to save Joe Chill, the criminal that killed his parents and launched him on the path of becoming Batman to begin with the Joker holding him hostage. So it's a very neat character study, and Jason Fabuk's art is very crisp and gritty. It really reminds you of Brian Boland's art from Batman the Killing Joke, which is intentional as you get to the end of the story. All in all, this is like being a Black Label is more of a self-contained story, but it does definitely have fun playing with the 3 Jokers. And I'm not sure how much it is going to be playing into the actual DC continuity, the main thing. But yeah, this is for overall as a Batman Joker story, is one of the better ones that come out in the last few years, even the recent Joker War, which while I enjoyed, did go a little long. But overall, yeah, Batman 3 Jokers, grade A Batman mystery, along with a nice reveal that, well, apparently the biggest secret wasn't about the Joker, it was about Batman. But yeah, definitely check that out. And with that, join me again next week when we're going to be doing the first part of a 2-parter on the writer Gardner Fox, arguably DC's greatest writer. Till then, oh yeah, I forgot, this weekend it's happy Halloween to everybody. Hope you enjoy Halloween, whatever you do. Enjoy some good scary comic books. Of course, you can't go wrong with EC and stuff like that. I'm trying to keep updated on my Facebook and Twitter pages and Tumblr of all the different reads and stuff like that to get. My perennial Halloween comic book movie is The Crow because it takes place during Halloween. Not really a horror film, but yeah, I watch it every year. It's a classic beginning to end and so forth. So that's my perennial comic book movie so far. And also, if you're looking at horror movies in general, do please check out my good friends, James and Jessica Moser, at their The Fall Horseman YouTube show. Go check them out. It's all The Fall Horseman. They've been doing the 31 Days of Halloween, which is fantastic. They're like recommending 4 movies every day of October, plus a haunt. And it's crazy. And my friend James will tell you, he brought this on himself, like trying to make 31 YouTube videos in the space of a month. Yeah, that's insane. I can barely keep up with an audio podcast that comes out once a week. But yeah, definitely check out their channel on YouTube, The Fall Horseman. You can also click or treat, share, and subscribe, and go to their Facebook and Twitter page and so forth. And they're also their Tumblr page called The Fall Horseman as well. And yes, but once again, have a happy Halloween. And if you can, go out. Maybe have lots of tricks or treats. And besides candy, go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book.